iron. Like a solid half hour of freaking content just got corrupted. That's the first time that's ever happened to me. We made it to page 70. Oh my goodness, no. I gotta go all the way back to freaking 63. This just like killed the vibe for me. I mean, it's only 7 pages, but at the same time, why? It's so unfortunate. I'm gonna smoke one time, and I'm just gonna power through and make it to page 70, and then we'll clink again with the eucalyptus. Wow, like that just totally shocked me. Hold on, let me make this a little bit better. 3, 2, 1. The system. They're trying to stop me. Alright, I'm recording. We are for sure recording. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to let that one slow burn. Alright, let's get back into it. Nothing like the present. Hello, YouTube. Otaku here. I'm gonna be your personal narrator. We're gonna be getting back into page 63 of The Grapes of Wrath. Like I explained to you earlier, the technical difficulties that came about the first 30 minutes of the attempt into this video was sadly corrupted, and we're going to continue back on chapter 7, The Grapes of Wrath. Alright, let's do this. In the towns, on the edge of the towns, in fields and vacant lots, the used car yards, the wreckers' yards, the garages, and the blazoned signs. Used cars, good used cars, cheap transportations. 3 trailers, 1927 Ford, clean. Checked cars, guaranteed cars, free cars, cars with 100 gas, cars with 100 gallons of gas free. Yeah, I can't let myself be skipping like that. Come in and look. Used cars, no overhead. A lot in a house large enough for a desk and a car and a blue book. Shelf of contracts. Yeah, I already wrote down that word shelf. So, dog ears held with paper clips and a meat pile of unused contracts. Pen, keep it full, keep it working. A sale's been lost because a pen didn't work. Those nosy sons of bitches over there ain't buying. Every yard gets them. They're lookers. Spends all their time looking. Don't want to buy no cars. Take up your time. Don't give a damn for your time. Over there, them 2 people? No, with the kids. Get them in the car. Start them at 200 and work them down. They look good for 1 1/4. Get them rolling. Get them out in jalopy. Suck them out. Sock it to them. They took our time. Owners with rolled up sleeves. Salesmen, neat, deadly, small, intent eyes watching for weaknesses. Watch the woman's face. If the woman likes it, it can screw the old man. Start him on the cad. Then you can work him down to that 26 buck. Buck. If you start on the buck, they'll go for the Ford. Roll up your sleeves and get to work. This ain't gonna last forever. Show them that Nash while I get the slow leak pumped up on that 25 Dodge. I'll give you a Heim when I'm ready. I put down that Heim as well. What you want is transportation, ain't it? No baloney for you. Earlier I kept wanting to say balcony on that. It was pretty funny. Sure, the upholstery is shot. Seat cushions ain't turning. No wheels over. Cars lined up, noses forward, rusty noses, flat tires, parked close together. Page 64. Like to get in to see that one? Sure, no trouble. I'll pull her out of the line. Get 'em under obligation. Make 'em take your time. Don't let 'em forget they're taking your time. People are nice. Mostly, they hate to put you out. Make you put 'em out, and then sock it to 'em. Cars lined up. Model Ts, high and snotty, creaking wheel, war bands, Buckies, Nashes, DeSotos. Yes, sir. 22 Dodge. Best goddamn car Dodge ever made. Never wore out. Low compression. High compression. Got lots of sap for a while, but the metal ain't made that'll hold it for long. Ply mounts, rocking knees, stars. Jesus, where's the 8% come from? The Ark? Question mark. And that Chalmers and a Chandler ain't made 'em for years. We ain't selling cars, rolling junk. God damn it, I got to get jalopies. I don't want nothing for more than 25, 30 bucks. Selling for 50, 75. That's a good profit. Christ, what could you make on a new car? Question mark. Get jalopies. I can sell them fast and I'll get them. Nothing over 250. Jim, coil that old bastard on the sidewalk. Don't know his ass from a hole in the ground. Try him on the 8%. Say, where's that 8%? Question mark. Sold? Question mark. If we don't get some jalopies, we got nothing to sell. Flags, red and white, white and blue, all along the curb. Used cars, good used cars. Today's bargain. Up on the platform. Never sell it. Makes folks come in, though. If we sold that bargain at the price, we'd hardly make a dime. Tell them it's just sold. Take out that yard battery before you make delivery. Put in that dumb cell. Christ, what do you want for 6 bits? Roll up your sleeves. Pitch in. This ain't gonna last. If I had enough jalopies, I'll retire in 6 months. Listen, Jim, I've heard that Chevy rear end sounds like busted bottles. Squirt on a couple of quarts of sawdust. Put some in the gears, too. We got to move that lemon for $35. Bastard cheated me on that one. I'd offered 10, he jerked me for 15. And then that son of a bitch took the tools out. God almighty. I wish I had 500 jalopies. This ain't gonna last. He don't like the tires? Question mark. Tell him they got 10,000 on them and knock off $1.50. Pile of rusty ruins against the fence. Rows of wrecks and bag fenders. Gear black wrecks. Blocks laying on the ground and a pigweed growing up through the cylinders. Brake rods, exhaust, piled like snakes. Gear, grease, and gasoline. See, you can't find a spark plug that ain't cracked. Christ, if I had 50 trailers and under 100, I'd clean up. What the hell is he kicking about? Question mark. We'll sell him, but we don't push him home for him. That's good! Exclamation point. Don't push him home. We got one in the monthly. I bet. You don't think he's a prospect? Question mark. We'll kick him out. We got too much to do to bother with a guy that can't make up his mind. Take the right front tire off the Graham. Take the men's side down. The rest looks swell. Go tread and everything. Sure! Exclamation point. There's 50,000 in that old heap yet. Keep plenty of oil in. So long. Good luck. Looking for a car? Question mark. What do you have in mind? Question mark. See anything attracting you? Question mark. I'm dry. How about a little snort of the good stuff? Question mark. Come on, while your wife's looking at that LaSalle. L-A space S-A-L-L-E. That's what LaSalle is. I don't want no LaSalle. Baron's shot. Don't uses too much oil. Got a Lincoln 24. There's a cat, runs forever. There's a car that runs forever. Make her into a truck. Hot sun on rusted metal. Oil on the ground. People are wandering in, bewildered, needing a car. Wipe your feet. Don't lean on the car. It's dirty. How do you buy a car? Question mark. What does it cost? Question mark. Watch the children now. I wonder how much for that one? Question mark. We'll ask. I don't cost no money to ask. We can ask, can't we? Question mark. Can't pay a nickel over 75, or they won't be enough to get to California. God, if I can only get 100 jalopies, I don't care if it runs or not. Tires, used, bruised tires, stacks of tall cylinders, tubes red, gray, hanging like sausages. Tire patch, radiator cleaner, spark intensifier, a Drop this little pill in your gas tank and get 10 extra miles for the gallon. Just paint it on. You got a new surface for 50 cents. Wipers, fan blades, gaskets, ? Maybe it's the valve. Get a new valve stand. What can you lose for a nickel? ? Alright, Joe. You soften them up and you shoot them here. I'll close them and I'll deal them or I'll kill them. Don't send in no bums. I want deals. Alright, making good time. Page 66. I really talked a lot of shit about this guy on page 66, so I think I'm going to redistribute that anger. Yes, sir. Step in. You got to buy there. Yes, sir. ! At $80, you got to buy. I can't go no higher than 50. This fella outside said 50. 50? 50? ? He's nuts. Page 75. Page 70, 85 for that little number. Joe, you crazy fool. You trying to bust us? ? How to can that guy? Have to can that guy? I might take 60. Now look here, mister. I ain't got all day. I'm a businessman. I ain't out to stick nobody. Got anything to trade? ? I got a pair of mules I'll trade. Mules? ! Hey, Joe, come here. ? This guy wants to trade mules? Didn't nobody tell you this is the machine age? They don't use mules for nothing but glue no more. Fine, big mules, 5 and 7 years old. Maybe we can look around. Look around? You come in here when we're busy and you take up our time and walk out? Joe, don't you know we was talking to pikers? I ain't a piker. I gotta get a car. We're going to California. I gotta get a car. Well, I'm a sucker. Joe says I'm a sucker. Says if I don't quit giving my shirt away, I'll starve to death. Tell you what I'll do. I can give $5 a piece for that meals for dog food. I wouldn't want them to go for dog food. Well, maybe I could get 10 or 7 maybe. Tell you what we'll do. We'll take your meals for 20. Wagon goes with them. Don't it? And you put up 50 and you could sign a contract to send the rest at $10 a month. But you said 80. Put up your 50. Didn't you never hear about carrying charges and insurances? That just boosted her a little. You'll get her all paid for 45 months. Sign your name right here. We'll take care of everything. Well, I don't know. Now look here. I'm giving you my shirt and you took all this time? I might have made 3 sales while we was talking to you. I'm disgusted. You sign right here. All right. Sir, Joe, fill up the tank for this gentleman. We'll even give him a little gas. Jesus, Joe, that was a hot one! ! What do we give for that jalopy? ? $30? 35, wasn't it? I got that team, and if I can't get 75 for that team, I ain't a businessman. And I got 50 cash and a contract for 40 more. Oh, I know they're not all honest, but it'll surprise you how much kicked through with the rest. One guy came through with 100 2 years after I wrote him off. I bet you this guy's sending the money. Christ, if I could only get 500 jalopies. Roll up your sleeves, Joe. Go out and soften them and send them to me. You get 20 on that last deal. You ain't doing too bad. Limp flags in the afternoon sun. Today's bargain at 29 Ford pickup runs good. What do you want for $50? A Zephyr? Horsehair curled up out of the seat cushions. Fenders battered and hammered down. Bumpers torn loose and hanging. Fancy Ford Roadsters with little colored lights and a fender guide and radiator cap and 3 behind. Mud aprons and a big die on the gear shift lever. Pretty girl on tire cover, painted in color and named Cora. Afternoon, sun in the dusty windshields. Christ, I ain't had time to get out and eat. Joe, send a kid for a hamburger. Spattering roars of ancient engines. Alright, making good time. There's a dummy bunny looking at that Chrysler. Find out if he got any jack in his jeans. Some of these farm boys are sneaky. Salting them up and roll them onto me. You're doing good. Sure, we'll sort it. Guaranteed? ? We'll guarantee it'll be an automobile. We didn't guarantee to wet nurse it. Now listen here, you bought a car, and now you're squawking? I don't give a damn if you don't make payments. We ain't got your paper. We turn that over to the finance company. They'll get over after you, not us. We don't hold your paper. Yeah? ? Well, you just get tough and I'll call the police. No, we do not switch the tires. Run him out of here, Joe. He bought a car and now he ain't satisfied. How do you think if I bought a car, if I bought a steak and I eat it halfway and brought it back? Question mark. We're running a business, not a charity. Can you imagine this guy, Joe? Question mark. Say, looky here. Got an elk's toe! Exclamation point. Run over there. Let me glance over at that 36 Pontiac. Yeah. Square noses, round noses, rusty noses, shovel noses, and the long curves of steam lines. And the flat surfaces before steam lines. Bargains today. Only old monsters with deep upholstery. You can cut her in a truck easy. 2 wheels trailer. Axles rusty in the hard afternoon sun. Used cars. Good cars. Clean. Runs good. Don't pump oil. Christ, look at her. Somebody took a nice care of her. Cadillacs, La Salles, Bucky's, Plymouths, Packyards, Chevys, Fords, Pontiacs, row on row. Headlights glistening in the afternoon sun. Good used cars. Before we make it to the next chapter, I'm going to take a hydration check. Soften them up, Joe. Jesus, I wish I had 1,000 jalopies! Exclamation point. Get them ready a deal and I'll close them up. Going to California? Question mark. Here's just what you need. Looks shot, but there's thousands of miles in her. Lined up side by side, good used cars. Bargains, clean, runs good. Chapter 8, 69. Yeah, screw that guy. He's a piece of crap. There's a lot spoken in that last video. It's like very discouraging to know that one is no longer with us. Sad to say that sometimes the phone bugs out. This is the first time it's ever done that to me, but surely it's not to be unexpected. It's just nothing I can really do. Page 69. The sky grayed among the stars, and the pale late quarter moon was insubstantial and thin. Tom, hell yeah. And the preacher, Casey, walked quickly along a road that was only wheel tracks and beaten caterpillar tracks through a cotton field. Only the unbalanced sky showed the approach of dawn. No horizon to the west and a line to the east. 2 men walked in silence and smelled like the dust in their feet caked in the air. I hope you're dead sure of the way, Jim Casey said. I'd hate to have the dawn coming for us to be way to hell and gone somewhere. The cotton field scurried with walking Maya. The quick flutter of morning birds feeding on the ground, the scampering over the clods of disturbed rapids. The quiet thudding of the men's feet on the dust, the squeak of crushed clods under their shoes, sounding against the secret noises of the dawn. Tom said, I could shut my eyes and walk right there. Only way I could go wrong is to think about her. Just forget about her and I'll go right there. Hell, man, I was born right around in here. Right around in here where I was a kid. There's a tree over there, look. You can just make out a cut. Make it out. Well, once my old man hung up a dead coyote in that tree. Hanging there till it was all sorts of melted, and then dropped down. Dripped up like Jesus. I hope Miles cooked something. My belly's caving. Me too, said Casey. Like a little eating tobacco? Question mark. Keep you from getting too hungry. Be better if we didn't start so damn early. Better if it was light. He paused to gnaw off a piece of plug. I was sleeping nice. That's crazy, Muley done it, said Tom. He got me a clear jumping, waking up and saying, Bye, Tom, I'm going. I got places to go. And he says, better get going too, or you'll be off the land when I was last coming. He gets to screwing like a gopher, like he'd been living. You'd think Injus was after him. Think he's nuts. Question mark. Page 70. We made it. It took me over 30 minutes because I had a lot of personal narrative myself to add. Sadly, that narrative is gone with time. It's not truly gone. It'll live on within the moments. Click, click, click. I don't know. You seen that car come last night, but we had a little fire. You seen how the house was smashed? There's something pretty mean going on. Of course, Muley's crazy, alright. Creeping around like a coyote. That's bound to make him crazy. He'll kill somebody pretty soon and they'll run him down with dogs. I can see it like a prophecy. He'll get worse and worse. Would have come along with us, you say? Question mark. No, said Tom. I think he's scared of people now. Wonder if he comes up with us, we'll be at Uncle John's place by sunrise. They walked along in silence for a time, and the late owls flew over towards the barns, the hollow trees, the tank houses, where they hid from daylight. The eastern sky grew fair, and it was possible to see the cotton plants and the graying earth. Damn. If I had known how they were all sleeping at Uncle John's. He'd only got one room and a cooking Leno's and a little bit of barn. Must be a mob over there. The preacher said, I don't recollect that John had a family. Just a lone man, ain't he? Question mark. I don't recollect much about him. Loneliest goddamn man in the world, said Tom. Crazy kind of son of a bitch, too. Something like Muley, only worse in some ways. Might see him anywheres, at Shawnee, drunk or visiting a widow 20 miles away, or working his place with a lantern. Crazy, and everybody thought he wouldn't live long. A lone man like that don't live long, but Uncle John's older than Paul. Just getting stringier and meaner every year, meaner than Grandpa. Look, a little light coming, said the preacher, silvery like. Didn't John never have no family? Well, yes, he did. And they showed you the kind of fella he is, set in his ways. Paul tells about it. Uncle John had a young wife, married 4 months. She was in a family ways too, and one night she get a pain in her stomach, and she says, you better go see a doctor. Well, John, he set in his ways and says, you just got a stomach ache. You ate too much. Take a dose of painkillers. You crowd up in the stomach and you get a stomach ache, he says. Next morning, she's out of her head and she died about 4 in the afternoon. Damn, that's fucked. What was it? Casey asked. Poison from something she ate? No, something just bust in her. An appendix or something. Well, Uncle John, he's always been an easygoing fella, and he takes it hard. Takes it for a sin. For a long time, he won't have nothing to say to nobody. Just walking around like he don't see nothing, and he prays some. Took him 2 years to come out of it, and then he ain't the same. Sort of wild. Make a goddamn nuisance of himself. Every time one of us kids got worms or a gut ache, Uncle John brings a doctor out. I finally told him he gotta stop. Kids all the time getting a gut ache. He figured it's his fault his woman died. Funny fella. He's all the time making it up to somebody. Giving kids stuff, dropping a sack of meals on somebody's porch, giving away about everything he got. And he still ain't very happy. Gets walking around alone in the night, and sometimes he's a good farmer, though keeping his land nice. Poor fella, said the preacher. Poor lonely fella. Didn't he go to the church much when his woman died? ? No, he didn't. Never wanted to get close to folks. Wanted to be off alone. I never seen a kid that wasn't crazy about him. He'd come to our house in the night sometimes, and we'd know he'd come 'cause just as sure as he come there packing a gum in the bed right beside every one of us. We thought he was Jesus Christ Almighty. The preacher walked alongside, head down. He didn't answer, and the light of the coming morning made his forehead seem to shine, and his hands, swinging beside him, flicked into the light and out again. Tom was silent too, as though he had said to imitate a thing and was ashamed. He quickened his pace, and the preacher kept step. They could see a little into great distance ahead too. A snake wriggled slowly from the con rows into the road. Tom stopped short of it and peered. Gopher snake. Let him go. They walked around the snake and went on their way. A little color came onto the eastern sky, and almost immediately the lonely dawn light crept over the land. Green appeared on the con plants, and the earth was gray-brown. The faces of the men lost their grayish shine. Joel's face seemed to darken with the growing light. This is the good time. This is the good time, Tom said softly. Well, I was a kid. I used to get up and walk around by myself when it was like this. What's that ahead? ? A committee of dogs had met in the road. Oh, I freaking love this part. I remember the first time I read it, I thought it was so funny. You ready for this? A committee of dogs had met on the road in honor of a bitch. 5 males, shepherd mongrels, collie mongrels, dogs whose breeds had been blurred by a freedom of social life, were engaged in complimenting the bitch. For each dog sniffed daintily and then stalked to a cotton plant on stiff legs, raised a hind foot ceremoniously, and wetted, then went back to smell. Tom and the preacher stopped to watch, and suddenly Tom laughed joyously. By God! ! He said. By God! Now all dogs met in hackled rows, and they all growled and stood stiffly, each waiting for the other to start a fight. One dog mounted, and now that it was accomplished, the other gave way and watched with interest, and their tongues were out, and the tongues dripped, and the 2 men walked by. By God, Tom said, I think that up dog is our Flash. I think he's been dead. Come, Flash. He laughed again. What the hell? If somebody called me, I wouldn't hear him neither. Remind me of a story that tells about Willie Feely. When he was a young fella, Willie was bashful, awfully bashful. Well, one day, he takes a heifer over Graves' Bowl. Everybody was out but Elsie Graves, and Elsie wasn't bashful at all. Willie, he stood there turning red and he couldn't even talk. Elsie says, I know what kind you come for. The bull's out back of the barn. Well, they took the heifer out there, and Willie and Elsa sat on the fence to watch. Pretty soon, Willie got feeling pretty fly. Elsa looked over and said, like she don't know, What's the matter, Willie? Willie's so randy he can't hardly sit still. By God, he says, by God, I wish I wasn't doing that. Elsie says, Why not, Willie? It's your heifer. The preacher laughed softly. You know, he said, it's a nice thing not being a preacher no more. Nobody used to tell me stories when I was there. Or if they did, I couldn't laugh. And I couldn't curse. Now, I curse all the way. Anytime I want. And it does a fella good to curse if he wants to. A redness grew up and out of the eastern horizon, and on the ground birds began to chirp sharply. "Look," said Tom, "right ahead. That's Uncle John's tank." Couldn't see the windmill, but there's his tank. "See it against the sky? Question mark. He sped at his walk. "I wonder if all the folks are there." The hunk at the tank stood above a rise. Tom, hurrying, raised a cloud of dust about his feet. "Wonder if Ma..." They saw the tank legs now in the house, a square little box, unpainted and bare, and the barn, low-roofed and huddled. Smoke was rising from the tin chimney of the house, and the yard was littered. Piles, furniture, and a blade and motor of the windmill. Bedsteads, chairs, tables. "Holy Christ, they're fixing to go," Tom said. A truck stood in the yard, a truck with high sides and a strange truck, for while the front of it was a seat-on, the top was cut off in the middle and the truck bed fitted on. And as they drew near, the men could hear pounding from the yard, and as the rim of the blinding sun came over the horizon, it fell onto the truck, and they saw a man in the flash of its hammer as it rose and fell, and the sun flashed on the windows of the house. The weathered boards were bright. 2 red chickens on the ground flamed with reflective light. "Don't yell," said Tom. Let's creep up on him, like." And he walked so fast that the dust rose as high as his waist. Then he came to the edge of the cornfield. Now they were in the yard proper, earth beating hard, shiny hard, and a few dusty crawling weeds on the ground. The jolted slow showed as though he feared to go up. The preacher watched them slow to match his step. Tom sauntered forward, side-led embarrassingly towards the truck. It was a Hudson Super 6 sedan, and the top had been ripped in two with a cold chisel. Old Tom Joel stood on the truck bed as he was nailing on the top rails of the truck sides. His grizzled, bearded face was low over his work, and a bunch of 6-penny nails stuck out of his mouth. He set a nail and his hammer thundered in it. From the house came the clash of lids on the stove and a wail of a child. Joe side-led up to the truck bed and leaned against it, and his father looked at him and he did not see him. His father set another nail and drove it in. A flock of pigeons started from the deck of the tank house and flew around and settled again and strutted on the edge to look over. While pigeons and blue pigeons and gray with iridescent? No, not iridescent. Yeah, I think it is. With iridescent wings. Yep. Tom hooked his fingers over the lowest bar of the truck side. Oh wait, no, not Tom. Yeah. He looked up at the aging, graying man on the truck. He wet his thick lips with his tongue and he said softly, "Pa, what do you want?" Old Tom mumbled around his mouth full of nails. He wore a black, dirty slouch hat and a blue work shirt over, which was a buttonless vest. His jeans were held up by a wide harness leather belt with a big square brass buckle, leather and metal polish with years of wear, and his shoes were cracked and the soles swollen and boat-shaped from years of sun and wet and dust. The sleeves of his shirt were tied on his forearms. Water. Hydration check. Hydration check. Is it possible? Dang. Okay. Making good time. Making good pace. The sleeves of the shirt were tied on his forearms, held down by the bulging power muscles. Stomach and hips were lean and legs short, heavy, and strong. his face squared by a bristling pepper and salt beard, was all drawn down to the forceful chin, a chin thrust out and built out by the stubble beard, which was not so great on the chin, and gave weight and force to its thrust. Over old Tom's unwhiskered cheekbones, the skin was as brown as Marikashu. Shamu? I remember hearing this word, and I even looked it up a long time ago. As brown as I don't know what that is. And wrinkled and raised around his eye corners from squinting. His eyes were brown, black coffee brown, and he thrust his head forward when he looked at a thing. From his bright, dark eyes were failing. For his bright, dark eyes were failing. His lips, from which the big nails protruded, were thin and red. He held his hammer suspended in the air, about to drive a set nail, and he looked over at the truck side of Tom, looked resentful at being interrupted, and then his chin drove forward and his eyes looked at Tom's face, and then gradually his brain became aware of what he saw. The hammer dropped slowly on his side, and with his left hand he stood the nails from his mouth, and he said, wonderingly, as though he had told himself the fact, "It's Tommy." And then, still informing himself, "It's Tommy. Tommy's come home." His mouth opened again, and a look of fear came over his eyes. "Tommy," he said softly, "he ain't busted out. He ain't got no hiding." He listened intensely. "Nah," said Tom. "I'm paroled. I'm free. I got my papers." He gripped the lower bar of the truck side and looked up. Old Tom laid his hammer gently on the floor and put his nails in his pocket. He swung his legs over on the side and dropped lithely to the ground. He won like diagonally to the ground. But once beside his son, he seemed embarrassed and strange. "Tommy," he said, "we're going to California. We was going to write you a letter and tell you." And he said, incredulously, that's a word. "But you're back. You can go with us. You can go." The lid of the coffee pot slammed on in the house. Old Tom looked over his shoulder. "Let's surprise him," he said, and his eyes shone with excitement. Your mom's got a bad feeling you ain't never gonna see you no more. She got the quiet look like somebody died. Almost like she don't want to go to California. For she'll never see you no more." A stove lid clashed in the house again. "Let's surprise him," Old Tom repeated. "Let's go on like you'd never been away. Let's just see what your ma says." At last he touched Tom. He touched him on the shoulder timidly and instantly took his hand away. He looked at Jim Casey. Tom said, "You remember the preacher, Paul? You come along with me. He's coming along with me." "You been in prison too?" ? "No. I met him on the road. He's been away." Paul shook his hand gravely. "You're welcome here, sir." Casey said, "Glad to be here. It's a thing to see when a boy comes home. It's a thing to see." It's truly nice of him. "Home," Paul said, "to his folks." The preacher amended quickly. "We stayed at the other place last night." Paul's chin thrusted out and he looked back towards the road for a moment. Then he turned to Tom. "How are we doing?" ? He began excitedly. "Suppose I go in and say, 'Here's some fellas want some breakfast.' Or how'd it be if you just come in and stood there till she sees you? ? How'd that be? ? His face was alive with excitement. "Don't let her get her no shock," said Tom. "Don't let her scare her none. Too Rangy shepherd dogs trotted up pleasantly until they caught the scent of strangers, and then they backed cautiously away, watchful, their tails moving slowly and tentatively in the air, but their eyes and nose quickly from animosity or danger. One of them, stretching its neck, edged forward, ready to run, and little by little he approached Tom's leg and sniffed loudly at them. Then he backed away and watched Paul for some kind of signal. The other pup was not so brave. He looked about for something that could honorably divert his attention. Saw a red chicken go menacing by and ran after it. There was a squawk of an outraged hen, a burst of red feathers, and a hen ran off, flapping stubby wings for speed. The pup looked proudly back at the men and then flopped down to the dust and beat its tail contentedly on the ground. Freaking dogs. "Come on," said Paul. "Come on in now. She gotta see you. Gotta see her face when she sees you. Come on. She'll yell breakfast in a minute. I heard her slap the salt pork on a pan a good time ago." Page 67. Page 76, my bad. Oh no. 67. 67. I'm just playing. He led the way across the fine dusty ground. There was no porch on this house, just a step and then the door. A chopping block beside the door, its surface matted and sought for years of chopping. The grating in the sheathing wood was high, for the dust had cut down the softer wood. The smell of burning willow was in the air, and as the three men neared the door, the smell of frying side meat and the smell of high brown biscuits and the sharp smell of coffee rolling in the pot. Paul stepped up in the open doorway and stood there, blocking it with his wide, short body. He said, "Ma, there's a couple fellas just come around the road, and they wonder if they can get a spare to bites." Tom heard his mother's voice, and she remembered cool, calm drawl, friendly and humble. "Let 'em come," she said. "We got plenty. We got..." Man, I haven't done Ma's voice in a minute. Okay. "Let 'em come," she said. "We got plenty. Tell 'em they gotta wash their hands. The bread is done. I'm just taking up the side meat now." And the sizzle of the angry grease came from the stove. Paul stepped inside, clearing the door, and Tom looked in at his mother. She was lifting the curling slices of pork from the frying pan. The oven door was open, and the great pan of hot biscuits stood waiting there. She looked out the door, but the sun was behind Tom. She saw only a dark figure outlined by the bright light sunlight. She nodded pleasantly. "Come in," she said. "Just lucky I made plenty of bread this morning." Tom stood looking in. Ma was heavy, but not fat, thick with childbearing and work. She wore a loose Mother Hubbard of gray cloth in which there had once been colored flowers, but the color was washed out now, so that the small flowered pattern was only a little lighter gray than the background. The dress came down to her ankles, and her strong, broad, bare feet moved quickly and deftly over the floor. Her thin, steel gray hair was gathered in a sparse, wispy knot at the back of her hand. Strong, freckled arms were bare at the elbow, and her hands were chubby and delicate, like those of a plump little girl. She looked out in the sunshine. Her full face was not soft. It was controlled, kindly. Her hazel eyes seemed to have experienced all possible tragedy, to have mounted pain and suffered like steps in a high calm and a superhuman understanding. She seemed to know, to accept, to welcome her position, the citadel of the family, the strong place that could not be taken. And since old Tom and the children could not know, hurt, or fear unless she acknowledged hurt or fear, she had practiced denying them in herself. And since, when a joyful thing happened, they looked to see whether joy was on her, and it was her habit to build up laughter out of inadequate materials. But better than joy was calm. Imperturbability could be depended upon, and from her great and humble position in the family, she had taken dignity and a clean, calm beauty. From her position as healer, her hands had grown sure and cool and quiet. From her position an arbiter, she had become as remote as the faultless in judgment as a goddess. She seemed to know that if she swayed, the family shook, and if she ever really deeply wavered or despaired, the family would fall, and the family would not function and would not go on. She looked out in the sunny yard, and a dark figure of a man, Paul, stood nearby, shaking with excitement. "Come in, he cried. "Come right in, mister." And Tom, a little shamefacedly, stepped over the doorsill. She looked up pleasantly from the frying pan, and then her hand sank slowly to her side, and her fork clattered on the wooden floor. Her eyes opened wide, and her pupil dilated, and her breath heavily. She breathed heavily through her open mouth. She closed her eyes. "Thank God," she said. "Oh, thank God!" Exclamation point. And suddenly her face was worried. "Tommy, you ain't wanted? Question mark. You didn't bust loose? Question mark. "No, Pa. Patrol, I got the papers here." He touched his breast. She moved towards him lithely, soundlessly, in her bare feet, and her face was full of wonder. Her small hands felt his arm, felt the soundness of his muscles, and then her fingers went up to his cheek as a blind man's fingers might, and her joy was needly like sorrow. Tom pulled his under lip between his teeth and bit it. Her eyes went wonderingly to his bitten lip, and she saw the little line of blood against his teeth and the trickle of blood down his lip. And then she knew, and her control came back, and her hands dropped. Her breath came explosively. "Well!" Exclamation point, she cried. "We come mighty near to going on without you, and we was wondering how in the world you could ever find us." She picked up the fork and combed the boiling grease and brought out a dark curl of crispy pork, and she set the pot of trembling coffee on the back of the stove. We got like 15 more minutes. We got this. Page 78. Old Tom giggled. "Fooled you, huh, Ma? We aimed to fool you, and we done it. Just stood there like a hammered sheep, wishing Grandpa'd be here to see it. Looks like somebody beat you between the eyes with a sledge. Grandpa would have whacked himself so hard he'd have thrown a hip out, like he done when he seen Al take a shot of great big airship the Army got. Tommy, we could go over one day, half a mile big, and Al gets the thirsty and blazed away at her. Grandpa yells, 'Don't shoot no Flanagans.' Al waited till a grown up one got over, and then he whacked himself and thrown his hip out." Ma chuckled and took down a heap of tin plates from a shelf. Tom asked, "Where's Grandpa?" Question mark. I ain't seen the old devil. Ma stacked the plates on the kitchen table and piled cuts beside them. She said confidentiously, "Oh, him and Grandma sleep in the barn now. They got to get up so much in the night they was stumbling over the little fellas." Aw, got like 12 more minutes. Pa broke in. "Yeah, every night Grandpa's getting mad, tumbling over Winefield, and Grandpa gets mad and wets his drawers, and then he makes them madder, and pretty soon everybody in the house will be yelling their head off." His words tumbled out between chuckles. "Oh, we had lively times. One time everybody was yelling and cursing your brother Al. He was a smart aleck. Now he says, 'God damn it, Grandpa, why don't you run off and be a pirate?' Question mark. Well, that made Grandpa so goddamn mad he went for his gun. Al had to sleep out in the field that night. But now Grandma and Grandpa both sleep in the barn." Ma said, "They can't just get up and step outside and feel like it." Pa ran out. Truly, my voice is going through the most. said, they can't just get up and step outside when they feel like it. Paul runs out and tells Tom is home. Grandpa's a favorite of him. Of course, said Paul. I should have done it before. He went out to the door and crossed the yard, swinging his hands high. Tom watched him go, and then his mother's voice called his attention. She was pouring coffee. She did not look at him. Tommy? She said hesitantly, timidly. Yeah? ? He timidly was set off by hers. A curious embarrassment. Each one knew that the other was shy, and became more shy in the acknowledgement. Tommy, I gotta ask you. You ain't mad? ? Mad? Oh? ? You ain't poisoned mad? You don't hate nobody? ? They didn't do nothing in that jail they brought you out with crazy mad, did they? ? He looked sideways at her, studied her, and then his eyes seemed to ask how she could know such things. No. He said. I was for a little while, but I ain't proud like some fellas. I let stuff run off me. What's the matter, Ma? ? Now she was looking at him, her mouth open, and as though to hear better, her eyes digging to know more. Her face looked for the answer that was always concealed in language. She said in confusion, I know pretty boy Floyd. I knew his mom. They was good folks. He was full of hell, sure, like a good boy ought to be. She paused and then her words poured out. I don't know all like this, but I know it. He done a little bad thing, and they hurt him, because I heard him, and he was mad. And the next bad thing he done was mad, and they hurt him again, and pretty soon he was mean mad. They shot him like a vermin, and he shot back, and they run him out like a coyote, and he was snapping at a snarling mean at a lobo, and he was mad. He wasn't no boy and no man no more. He was just a walking chunk of mean mad. But the folks that knowed him didn't hurt him. He wasn't mad at them. Finally, they ran him down and killed him. No matter how they said it was the paper, he was bad. That's how it was. She paused and then licked her dry lips, and her whole face was an arching question. I gotta know, Tommy. Did they hurt you so much? Did they make you mad like that? ? Tom's heavy lips was pulled right over his teeth, and he looked down at his big flat hands. No, he said. I ain't like that. He paused and studied the broken nails, which were rigid like clamshells. All the time in stir, I kept away from stuff like that. I ain't so mad. She sighed. Thank God! ! She said under her breath. He looked up quickly. Ma, when I seen what they done to our house, she came near to him, and then she stood close, and she said passionately, Tommy, I don't want you to go fighting alone. They'll hunt you down like a coyote, Tommy. I got to think and dreaming out, wondering. They said there were 100,000 of us shoveling out. If we was all mad the same way, Tommy, they wouldn't hunt nobody down. She stopped. Page 80. This is really what I'm going to stop at. Page 80. We came a pretty good long ways. I can't lie. I very much enjoyed this segment, and I do thank you for your time. I'm going to smoke super quick. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, y'all take care. Peace.